Today on Locked On Red Wings, Marco Kasper picks up his first NHL point as Detroit gets back in the win column.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am the color commentator for Oakland University Hockey. Scotty, how you doing, buddy? We're recording this just before the Lions play, so good for now, hopefully better later.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty good though. Had a nice weekend. There's a lot of was working with the Detroit News all weekend. Busy sports weekend around the state. A lot of state championships and such, and thankfully, a good Red Wings hockey game. It's funny. I tweeted out. I was like, if we just play Nashville 82 times, maybe we'll be pretty good. We talked about it on Friday, but the scheduling is so weird. Like we've played 5 games, but we've only played 3 teams. Like that's just really stupid to me. But anyway, we'll take the win.
I'm looking forward to seeing other teams.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing someone besides Nashville and New York for a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, Scotty, I mean, it was a 5-2 win. It was nice to get back in the win column. It wasn't a perfect game, but it wasn't a bad game either. My overall thoughts is I thought it was pretty even through the first 2 periods. Third period is what it is, and we'll talk about why it was what it was. But segment 1 here, we do our difference makers, and I want to know, Scotty, what was your difference maker in this 5-2 win over the Nashville Predators?
Yeah, honestly, I think big picture, we can talk about the player as a whole because he obviously had a phenomenal game, and I think it's probably fair to put him as a difference maker. But I mean, if we want to get super micro with it, like I genuinely think Alex Lyon's save. The big save that went viral, the crazy, he barely got a piece of it on the 5-on-3. I think pretty much, again, you scored 5 goals. I don't want to say that one save, quote unquote, won you the game, but like I cannot really overstate how important that save ended up being. That's a 5-on-3 at the end of the second, and 2 of your 5 goals were empty netters. Like you really, the Wings, you really had if that goes in, it's a completely different hockey game going into the third period. And the end of the hockey game is probably looks a lot different than it ended up looking. So I think, again, Lyon as a whole, his performance was great. And I think that we can talk about the whole game and how solid he was, because I think he deserves to be a difference maker. But really, killing that 5-on-3 at the end of the second, I think is probably the biggest moment in the entire game.
Yeah, and I think it's weird too, because if you're right, if he doesn't make that save in that moment, it is a 5-on-4 penalty kill. And they did go on to score. Stamkos did get his revenge early on the third period in that same kill. But because of that one save, it just so happened to like that ripple effect, Scotty, like Stamkos scored that goal right as Moritz Seider came out of the box, making it a 5-on-4, no longer a 5-on-3. So Stamkos got his revenge, but his revenge came a fraction of a second too late because of that stick save Lyon made at the end of the second, making it go from, instead of a 5-on-4, back to even strength. So like Lyon's stick save at the end of the second had a ripple effect that the Red Wings were lucky enough to go back to even strength when they did tie it. So like, yeah, I mean, we talk about it, special teams. I'm surprised you didn't go with Alex Lyon, so I'll go with Alex Lyon as my difference maker then. But I was going to bring up special teams, and it wasn't great. There were no great shakes. But, the power play, for example, we talked about how in the game against the New York Rangers, the second game against the New York Rangers, if Alex DeBrincat scores that power play goal and that wide open chance, that can completely change how the rest of that game unfolds. Like taking advantage of your early chances on the special teams is going to help you win hockey games. That's what helped them win so many hockey games last year. Well, this time, the Red Wings didn't miss their first chance on the power play. On their first power play opportunity, Patrick Kane found Alex DeBrincat, backdoor. DeBrincat hit the post on the near side, but was able to feed it back across to Dylan Larkin, who buried it for a 2-1 lead. Getting that goal really put the onus on the Predators then, who are desperate for their first win, to try and push. It made it so they pushed really hard the rest of the game, but it gave yourself the lead, and it changed how the rest of the game was played. There was no longer calm and patience by the Predators. It was desperation to score. And with desperation can come some miraculous comebacks, but can also come breakdowns. So that I agree with you in, if you want to expand that, you said that one penalty kill was important, but also them scoring on the power play on the other side of the special teams was equally as important to be a difference maker in this game. But Alex Lyon, of course, 37 saves on 39 shots. It was a huge, huge difference maker in this hockey game. He had 2.22 goals saved above expected. I think his save percentage in this game, in fact, I can just pull it up, was 949 in this hockey game. It was a weird performance by Alex Lyon, if I'm being completely honest. I felt he caught a bit of a break early on in this game, because that Luke Shen goal from the point wasn't a pretty goal. Like, it was a knuckle puck he just fired at the net, and it looked like he lost it on. I have to watch a replay again to see if there was a screen that came across, like on Talbot the other night, when Ole Mata skated across his eye, so he lost the puck, because it's very similar in the way that goal was scored. And then the second goal that got called back on the offsides, like, that was just a bad goal by Alex Lyon. Like, he went to make the glove save, and he failed to close it on his trapper, and it came down, well, because his teammates thought he made the save. They all stopped skating until they realized he dropped it. So it's like, you got to make that. And he got lucky, in my opinion, that got called back on the offsides. But after that, he really locked it down, and he was tested in this hockey game. Like, this was not the same game the Red Wings played last weekend at LCA, where the Red Wings, they still faced a lot of shots. They got a lot of shots, but they did a good job in that game on last Saturday at limiting the high danger shot attempts. I felt, and you can look at the heat map too for this hockey game, I felt the Nashville Predators had a lot of opportunities right out in front of Alex Lyon in this game. The Red Wings did not do a good job of clearing his net like they did for Talbot last week, and Alex Lyon was able to make the saves. He only allowed one more goal the rest of the game. I thought he was absolutely a difference maker. He just took a little bit to settle in.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And obviously the one save is going to, be the flashy play and the one that goes viral and the one that NHL's official account is going to post and everything. But he was really good in this game. And I think, we can save this conversation for the next off day we have, which is tomorrow. But there is this goalie situation is just so odd. Like, it's so weird. And it feels like it changes so much all the time. Like, I don't want to speak for like everybody or for a large group of people here, but like, I find it hard to believe that anybody is really chomping at the bit to get Billy Husso back in a winged wheel and back in between the pipes for the Wings, right? Like, you had Talbot, who had a really good game. He's also gotten pulled from a game. And then you have Lyon, who has had, obviously this was a really good game, but has had some shaky moments too. Like, it's just, it's weird, man. It's weird. And Husso's not here currently, so I would imagine that at least for the foreseeable future, this is what they're going to run with. But I just think that the better that Talbot and Lyon play, the weirder this 3 goalies to start off the season situation becomes, even though it's 2 right now.
It's 5 games into the season, but I just already know it's going to be like last year, where you're going to have one goalie who's going to be good for a couple of games and have a stinker, and you're going to throw another goalie in there. To add more to the fuel to the fire, right? Did you see what Ville Husso did in Grand Rapids this weekend? 22 save shutout. And so it's like, okay, well, granted it's AHL, but like, that's a really good conditioning start. And then the next day, I think Sebastian Cossa had a 20-plus save, 1-goal game against, and a 2-1 win where Amadeus Lombardi scored both goals. So it's like, okay, well, now both your goalies in the AHL are performing really well too, to just add a little bit more spice to the mix. The goalie situation, there's a lot of competition in that room, but I don't know how good the competition is on a night-to-night basis. Like,
that's the thing. Like, you can have a lot of bodies. That quantity versus quality is a thing, man. Like, that's. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a thing that is. Every single week we're going to take at least one off day and just be like, well, let's talk about the goalies. And like that's just going to be the entire season. And I feel like the fan base and probably us we're probably already doing it. are just gonna, like, oh, like this guy had a really good game, so we all like him right now. It's like, what have you done for me lately? Is just going to be what it is the entire season. It's just going to be a complete
whoever the hot hand is. Yep. We're going to head to a quick break, Scotty. When we return, we'll talk about our notable performers. So stay tuned for that in segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed you do.
Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, notable performers in this game. I mean, there's a couple obvious ones, but who you got?
Yeah, well, I mean, we can start with Copper if you want. I mean, my goodness, Andrew Copp with leading all players in this game in goals. That's
leading the season in goals for this team right now.
That's a good point. I'm not sure if that's a testament to Copp or the rest of the roster. I think probably the latter. But yeah, man. I mean, his whole season has just been like being, as far as goal scoring goes, has been just being at the right place at the right time. And it's working so far. So good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny. I tweeted it out yesterday when I finally watched the replay for the game because I was busy when it was live because it's a game at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday. Like, I have errands to run. What are we doing?
How do you feel
he scored.
That?
It's whatever. That's I will say, as much crap as we give the Bally Sports app, soon to be known as the FanDuel Sports Network, the one benefit is being able to watch the replays when you have time. Like that is one benefit I will give it because I was able to come home in the evening and watch the game later.
You know how
Andrew Copp
of a market that is?
I know.
You know how
I know.
Like, the pie chart of like people that are going to rewatch the now 2 and 3 Red Wings, 12 hours.
It's literally just super fans.
Right.
Just super fans. Allison would, if the Tigers had a really good baseball game, she would come home. If it was a day game, she would come home and watch it. And obviously, I do this because I love it, but also because it is a job. So, of course, I'm going to replay and watch the game so I can give people who are listening the best quality product. She does it out of pure passion. It's crazy.
The dog right there.
Absolute dog mentality. I love it. It's one of the reasons I love her. But, Scotty, Andrew Copp, ironically, funnily, has more goals with his skate than he does with his stick this season. He has 3 goals. One's an empty netter. 2 have just gone off his skate on a redirection and in.
Yeah,
so
that's sustainable.
Yeah, he's been playing the wrong sport the entire time, apparently.
He's going to carry this pace all year. He's going to be a 30-goal scorer on all skate and empty netters, and he's going to be one of the more valuable players on the team.
I mean, outside of that, though, too, I don't want to – got to be careful when you talk about Andrew Copp. But I think I've liked what I've seen out of him this season so far. That line that he's been on, I know ever since Christian Fischer initially got hurt, it's been a little bit broken up. But I thought Andrew Kopp's looked pretty good this season. The top 6 hasn't been able to provide consistent offense. His line's gone out there and gotten the job done every single day, it feels like. Always playing against the toughest comp, too.
Right, yeah. No, I agree. I think, like you said, it's always a conversation when you bring up Copp. It's I think that, and we even saw the line blender a little bit in this game with obviously Kasper, who I'm sure we'll talk about in a second, kind of throwing a wrench a little bit in there. So Copp was playing 4C there for a chunk of this game. So yeah, like I think that he has been he has been fine given our expectations going into the year, but obviously everyone wants to set the bar for his expectations to his contract, and I think we kind of like that ship has sailed in our brains, and we're like, all right, like we kind of are like, we know what he is, and this is what he's been so far this year, and it's been fine. Obviously he's not going to continue scoring goals the way he has, but if he can win faceoffs and be a solid, depth up the middle, then that's a win, I think, for the team.
I got more bad news for people. The contract's not even that bad anymore as the salary cap rises, and that's something we talked about when he signed him.
What's going to raise again? Is it this upcoming year or the year after? It has a big bump coming too.
Like, it was a little high when they signed him, but we talked about it when they signed him. Like, as that cap raises, like, it's going to be fine, and it's already fine. Like, Andrew Copp's not the problem. Sorry, guys. Anyways, Scotty, Marco Kasper, we got to talk about that. Got his first NHL point. We didn't get to talk about it on the podcast because he was recalled on Friday, and we don't record on Fridays unless there's a game. But, Scotty, Marco Kasper got recalled under emergency conditions. I don't know how long he's going to be up. We were told like a week ago they're not going to call up, a young player unless it's for long term. But Andrew Copp and Christian Fischer, Tyler Mott is day-to-day with an upper body injury. He's getting further evaluations, and that's who he's replacing in the lineup. But, like, if it's short-term, if he's day-to-day, that's short-term. That goes against what they said last week. But he's here on emergency conditions, and he played well. And I'm like, so is he here to stay? Is he not? What's going on? He had a good game, got his first NHL point. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I don't think they're rushing Mott back. I think they're like, you know what, dude, take your time. Like, and that's not a slight against Mott. I think he's been about what we expected so far this season. It's just, it is a weird kind of, that was really loud, wasn't it? Someone's laid on their horn outside my window. I think it's weird because of the contradiction that you mentioned, right? Like, this is a emergency stint. However, they said they wouldn't call him up unless they had legitimate playing time and it was long term. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. I also think there's something to be said for just like, oh yeah, he's the best player down there. So it's an emergency. We're just going to call him up because he's the best player. I think that's still kind of in the back of my head. But if he plays really well and continues to play really well going forward, I don't know. Like, this guy was on a line ahead of Andrew Copp, right? Like, he was the 3 seed. Like, he didn't just like come up and just. It didn't feel like an emergency stint, I guess is my point, right? Like, emergency stint to me is like, all right, you're going to be here for a game or two. You're just going to play fourth line and whatever. They called him up and gave him a middle six center role off rip. Like, that I think means something. So, obviously really good to get his first point there. It was really good passing and everything all around. Obviously, Vlad's still on the ice with them too. But yeah, man, it's weird. That's going to be something we talk about at an off day this week too. I'm sure that it's just an odd situation. I think we're all kind of hoping he stays long term.
Well, and like that line, Rasmussen and Edinson Berggren were productive in that game too.
Yeah.
Like, they were just getting stuff done. Like, Marco Kasper obviously has a little bit of a mean streak in him, which I love. He can do two-way hockey, which is why he's going to be a really solid center in the NHL. Edinson Berggren brought the speed. And Edinson Berggren, I want to give him full credit too. I don't think we've spoken enough about this, but he has really been engaged in battles along the boards. He's not shied away.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's been trying, which is
a really aggressive forechecker so far this year.
Yeah, he's been trying, which is what we wanted out of him, right? Like, Daniel Sprong sometimes felt like he was floating. I feel like Edinson Berggren, which, I mean, he gets caught floating sometimes, but he has been trying. And Michael Rasmussen was like that presence I think that line needed. It was a good line. And Marco Kasper is one of the few players on this team who actually had an expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5 above 50% in a game in which the Nashville Predators really tilted the ice at 5-on-5 when they got desperate. And that's not because, like, the players that are above him, like Olli Mata and Gustafsson, who are like 80% expected goals for percentage, it's not for the same reasons. Gustafsson and Mata's expected goals for percentage is so skewed because they didn't play in the third period. Like, literally, if you look at the shift chart, they stopped taking shifts 10 minutes left in the game.
Right.
Marco Kasper got ice time as the game went on. They expected him to play in high leverage situations. He played 15 minutes of ice time in this game, which is third line minutes, but he also got a minute and a half on power play. Like, Marco Kasper looked like he was NHL ready in this game. And then, of course, he got the secondary assist on Tarasenko's goal. That was like, he went to the puck was ringed around the boards.
The boards, man. Yeah.
Engaged in a border battle, chipped it down to Bergeron down low, who just fed it to Tarasenko. It wasn't like a pretty, like, oh my God, like he made the play happen, but the play stays alive because he engages in that. Like, he looked NHL ready to me. He looked NHL ready to me in the preseason. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but I hope he's here to stay because I think he makes this lineup better.
Agreed. And I think it improves depth more than anything, man. Like, we've talked about it a lot. Excuse me. We've talked about it a lot. If Andrew Copp, say what you will about him, and everybody's gonna have a different opinion on him. If he's your 4C, like you've got a pretty solid, group up the middle. Your depth improves a lot.
Also, Copp feasted on the fourth line. He was loving.
Oh yeah. Well, then again, like we talked about the reshuffling of that, like that fourth line was good, and yeah, it was good and impactful, and I think that's another incentive to keep Kasper up here because that's going to improve the depth below him.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to do another quick break. When we return, we got another look at something for the first time this season that we were hoping we would see at some point. I didn't expect to see it this soon. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Well, it's a good thing that it happened. I don't know if it's a good thing that it happened this soon, but we'll talk about that on the other side of this break. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Today's episode is also brought to you guys today by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest news, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 on bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty. Simon Edinson, Moritz Seider. They were paired up. Pair number 1 in the game against the Nashville Predators. What did you make out of their game?
Yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, it was just the excitement of it happening, right? Like, this is something we talked about on on Edvinson's draft night. I think that was really my biggest takeaway was just they are what we expect them to be at this point in both of their careers. Like I thought Edvinson still got burned a couple of times, and that's something that's kind of been a reoccurring theme throughout the first 5 games of the season here. But that is a long pair. There's a lot of length in that pair, and I think that that was probably the coolest thing to see. And then Edvinson, obviously, with the goal as well, it kind of puts a cherry on top of this one. But yeah, man, like I didn't watch it and I wasn't like, oh my goodness, this needs to be permanent. And then obviously you have the same conversation with Kasper. You have the pairs below them then obviously get affected. And I'm not sure I was super in love with the idea of the second pair there all season. I think maybe in short spurts you can survive, but I'm not sure I want to see that be the second pair for the entire season. Anyway, kind of just rambling at this point. It was fun. Like, that was really my biggest takeaway. They won. Yeah. They played together. It was fun.
Yeah, I didn't even think that Sherratt and Petrie were bad in this game. Like you said, short spurts, right? Like, I thought this game they played fairly well. Petrie's first game back after suffering an injury that had him day-to-day. I thought they were fine. Seider's minutes were a little, I won't say cut, but a little less. And I think, obviously, he got that penalty, so he didn't get penalty kill times. Because that 5-on-3 was the only 2 penalties in the game. And he didn't play because he was in the box. So that's part of the reason why he had less minutes. He would have gotten like a minute and a half right there if he was on the ice. But his overall time on the ice in this game was 22:45. You can assume it would have been close to 25 minutes, if not for the penalty kill. Edvinson played 21-12. They didn't always play together in this game, but they played together a lot. And I wonder if they were trying to keep in mind too, like, don't run Edvinson in the ground because he's not used to playing that many minutes. But I thought overall, like, there was, like you said, kind of a couple miscommunications between the two guys. But I think we saw flashes of what could be and what hopefully will be. And I hope they continue to give them more looks because that pair could be dangerous if they both turn into what we hope they are.
Yeah, I think No, it's just exciting that it's happening this early in the season. I don't know if that's a testament to how much the blue line has struggled. I think that probably has more to do with it than anything else. They're just trying to see if they can find a different, pair combinations that work. So I'm not sure it's a great thing that it's being trotted out there this early. I think this was something we probably expected a little bit later in the season, but cool no less. And I think, like you said, you did see kind of the potential there.
Did you see Moritz Seider like dangle his way from the blue line down to the high slot and then almost score? Like, that was incredible. Seider, his advanced analytics won't show it in this game because he was on the ice so much in the third period and the Red Wings were on their heels because, and that's another thing, like the 5-on-5 metrics in this game are so skewed because, and the first two periods I thought the game was very even, but like as soon as the Predators got that 5-on-3, they got the pressure and didn't look back because they were desperate to get their first win. So, like, all throughout the third period, it was just Predators puck, and the Red Wings were just hanging on to stay alive. So, Moritz Seider didn't get off the freaking ice in the third period, essentially. He was great again in this game. He obviously had that huge opportunity on the power play where he dangled through a couple guys. They're deploying Seider in the offensive zone again. Like, they're finally using him in the offensive zone. They're letting him be creative in the offensive zone. It's been very clear through these first few games. Like, he has looked so good. He had another game with 5 blocked shots and 4 more hits, and he didn't have a single giveaway in the game. He's looked so solid in every single game. And he's always playing against the toughest comp. Like, I love Moritz Seider. Like, that guy's so good. He's so good.
Worth the money, I would say.
Yeah. And Edinson got his first goal of the season on an empty netter. Nice little floater. He just turned around and sent it. Like, you got to give him a little credit. That was a nice shot from all the way downtown.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then Copp finally scored his first goal of the season with his stick. On the second empty netter.
Yeah, very difficult one for him, for sure.
He's getting all the hardest goals. Just standing in the right spot in the right time or having no goalie in the net.
Sustainable production, for sure.
And Lucas Raymond wore the A.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's super cool. He's now one of 37 guys who have wore the A through 5 games, which is super fun. Cool. Like it's cool that he's thought of that highly, where he's one of the people in the rotation. But
it's nice to know
going to wear it this week. Like it's just they're just gonna throw that thing around. So I feel like it almost kind of loses its meaning a little bit when they just like take turns all wearing it. But it is still cool that Raymond is one of the players that is.
That's what the takeaway is. It's like, it's nice to know he is part of the leadership group in the locker room, because that's essentially what, if you wear the A once this season, it means. Hopefully not everyone gets a chance to wear it. Hopefully there is like a group of 7. Like, it's said that we're saying that. Hopefully it's just 7 to 8 guys.
I can't wait for Gustafsson to rock the A, man. That's really what I'm saying. I can't wait for that to happen.
I'm excited for one of the goaltenders to walk onto the ice with the A on their jersey. Well, and we didn't talk about this the other day. So, like, the Red Wings, they only wear 2 sets of jerseys all year long. Like, so they're going to wear this home jersey and this away jersey until the All-Star break, and then they'll get a second set, which means that all these players that are wearing A's have a second jersey that has the A embroidered onto it. So it's like they went through all this extra effort to embroider a second jersey that they normally wouldn't have just for the one game they get to wear the A. It's just so extra. It's so extra.
Where were you when Oli Mata rocked the A?
Low key, though, I mean, Raymond hasn't scored yet, and I want him to score, but he's got 4 assists through 5 games. He's leading the team in points right now. So, well, it's tied for the team lead in points, but that was something little of note. FanDuel Sports is now no longer Bally Sports. It'll be FanDuel Sports. Are we expecting anything big with this change, Scotty?
Absolutely not. I think that's everybody's first question is like, what's going to change? Nothing. It's just going to be a different
and the color.
Right. It's just going to be a different name. They did not. Actually, I want to give credit to Tony Paul of the Detroit News, who really broke down kind of the ins and outs and the intricacies of what this means. This is not a takeover. FanDuel did not buy Diamond Sports. This is purely naming rights. Literally just naming rights, because Diamond Sports owns Bally. So now they just own the FanDuel Sports Network, or whatever they're going to call it. And that is it. It is still going to be the same product. It's still going to make you just as upset. It's still going to be the same awful app and awful streaming capabilities. Literally nothing is changing except for the colors and the brand itself. The technology behind it and everything you're hoping to getting, you will not get.
Which means that ugly score bug is going to stick around.
Maybe. That's like one thing that could change in theory.
I hope it does. It needs to go back in the corner, upper corner.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah,
I don't.
I just like sounded like the Grinch there. I was like, you're not going to get what you want, but like that's the reality of the situation. This is purely naming rights. Like that is literally it. It's just the name of the product you hate.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Scotty. Good breakdown. Any final thoughts?
I don't think so, man. We ball. Good to get back in the win column.
Look at my notes here. Yeah, I think we covered everything. We got all the big hitters. So we'll be back in the new episode tomorrow. We'll preview the game against the New York Islanders. 7:45 game on Tuesday. What is going on with that?
In New York, yeah, I really don't know.
All right. On FanDuel Sports Network. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.